During the civil war between the Eastern and Western Göktürk Khaganates, Göktürk Khagans did not pursue an active foreign policy. However, after the return of peace, the Silk Road became a high priority for the Göktürks. Profits from the silk trade were hampered by conflicts between the Sassanid Empire, through which a section of the Silk Road passed, and the Byzantine Empire, a major buyer of Chinese silk. Byzantium and the Göktürks were also at war, although they did not conduct military operations, and the absence of a peace treaty obstructed diplomatic relations. An alliance between Byzantium and the Göktürks was essential to both due to their shared trade interests, which the Sasanian Empire hindered. While no official coalition was formed, the Georgian king Bahram I coordinated anti-Sasanian efforts in 589. In August 589, the Göktürk army invaded Sasanian territories south of the Oxus River, defeating the Sasanian forces at Balkh. The Khagan leading this army is ambiguously identified as Sabe or Sabu in Persian sources. Some mistakenly associated him with Boga Khagan of the Eastern Khaganate, who had died in 588 during internal conflicts. The Sasanian military council appointed Bahram Chobin, commander-in-chief of the Northwestern Army, to counter the Göktürk invasion. Bahram mobilized 12,000 elite warriors, primarily experienced archers, whose training often spanned decades to achieve mastery. The Göktürks were defeated at the Battle of Herat, and the Khagan Sabe was killed. Bahram Chobin pursued the retreating Göktürks, reclaiming Balkh and seizing their treasury. Yil-Tegin, the Khagan's son, fled to Pakend in the Bukhara oasis but was captured after the Sasanian forces besieged and captured the city. The reconciliation of 593 between the Western and Eastern Khaganates strengthened anti-Sui sentiments among the Göktürks. Princess Qianjin of the former northern Zhou, and wife to Khagan Tulan through levirate marriage, is traditionally cited as a key figure in this resistance. That year, Tulan Khagan ceased paying tribute to the Sui dynasty, defying the terms of the 584 treaty. Around the same time, contacts were reportedly established between Chinese rebels opposing the Sui dynasty and Khagan Tulan. In 594, Zhangsun Sheng, a plenipotentiary ambassador of the Sui dynasty, arrived at Tulan's headquarters. His mission was to sow division within the Khaganate. Zhangsun supported Prince Rangan, known for his questionable morals, who held the northeastern fiefdom and controlled the Khitan, Tatab, and Tatar tribes by the title Tolis Khagan. Rangan sought a marriage alliance with a princess of the Sui royal family. The Sui dynasty promised this, but the condition was that Princess Qianjin, Tulan's wife, had to be eliminated. Rangan slandered Qianjin to Tulan, who, in a fit of rage, killed her. When the deception was revealed, Rangan had already fled to safety. In addition, the emperor of the Sui dynasty intervened in the dispute, declaring that the dynasty would protect Rangan. Tulan was forced to give up his revenge and fell under the influence of his uncle, Tadu Khagan of the Western Khaganate. In 599, a combined force of the Western and Eastern Khaganates attacked Rangan's headquarters, and all his relatives were killed. Rangan escaped to the Sui dynasty, where Emperor Wen appointed him as Kimin Khagan and dispatched troops for his protection. In the same year, Tulan Khagan of the Eastern Khaganate reportedly suffered a mental breakdown and was killed by his retinue. Seizing the opportunity, Tadu, the Khagan of the West, proclaimed himself Khagan of all the Göktürks, adopting the royal name Bilge Khagan. However, his claim violated traditional succession laws and alienated the Eastern Göktürks. The Teli tribes rebelled, and his successor of the Western Khaganate, Yil-Tegin, died in the conflict. In 603, Douluo, isolated and losing support from the Western Göktürks loyal to him, fled to Tun, where he likely met his end. In 604, Rangan was chosen as the Khagan of the Eastern Göktürks, adopting the royal title Yil-Tegin. This finally divided Göktürks into the Western and Eastern Göktürk Khaganates. The historical development paths of the ethnic groups of both wings of the Göktürk state were highly different. Few changes occurred in the Eastern Khaganate, and the Chinese protectorate did not affect the traditional life of the Göktürks. The Göktürks of the East remained the single ethnic group stronger than their neighboring peoples. In the Western Khaganate, the ethnic map was different. In the West, the Göktürks were in the minority. All the Göktürks who came to the West in the Eastern army were a drop in the ocean among the conquered peoples. All annexed nomadic tribes and sedentary peoples were loyal to the Ashina clan. Khogans Istamai and Douluo were both military leaders and outstanding administrators who created a favorable regime of peaceful existence in the conquered countries. Previously hostile countries, exhausted by endless wars, were now given an opportunity for peaceful development. This led to the realization of unity, which began to be called Turkic. The maintenance of the Göktürk army was not burdensome, and the benefits of unification were obvious. With the Ashina clan's power weakening, associated with events in the late 5th and early 6th centuries, the nomadic tribesmen and the sedentary Sogdian merchants and landlords formed hostile political parties and fought for dominance of influence. The strongest parties were the two tribal unions of Douluo and Nushibi. Both unions had 5 tribes each, so the Western Khaganate is sometimes called the 10 Arrow people, or the people of 10 tribes. The Ashina Khogans of the West received warriors from the nomads of the steppes and wealth from Sogdia and the states of the Tarim Basin. The Sogdian landlords and merchants enjoyed the benefits of peace and security in the Western Göktürk Khaganate. They strongly supported the Ashina Khogans. At the beginning of the 7th century, Sogdia was at the height of its economic and cultural prosperity. Trade, agriculture and crafts developed rapidly. The Silk Road made huge profits. The Ashina Khogans ensured peace and security and did not interfere in their subjects' internal affairs. The Sogdian cities paid tribute to the Khogans and maintained their autonomy. The Sogdians took an active part in the political life of the Western Khaganate, and their interest in developing caravan trade determined their behavior. The nomadic Douluo tribes lived between Lake Balkhash and the Tian Shan Mountains, far from the transshipment points for goods delivered by caravans and from sales markets. They benefited little from the caravan trade. The nomadic Nushibi tribes lived near Sogdia. Trade caravans passed through their lands, and they received a lot of income from them. Common trade interests created an alliance between the Sogdians and the Nushibi. In 604, the Douluo party proclaimed Daman, the son of Yil-Tegin, who died in the war with the rebellious tribes of Tul, as the Heshana Khagan. This was a violation of the lateral law succession, according to which the legitimate Khagan should have been the ruler of Chak, modern Tashkent, Sheguy, who had the support of the Nushibi tribal alliance. The Douluo puppet, Heshana Khagan, could not maintain the former prosperity of the Western Khaganate. Caravans were often robbed, and trade became dangerous. The cities of Sogdia began to move closer to China. The Sheguy embassy in China received an imperial decree recognizing Sheguy as the Khagan of the West. In 611, Sheguy attacked Heshana Khagan and defeated his army. Heshana fled to China. Sheguy was elected Khagan of the West. Under his rule, the tension and anarchy created during the rule of the Douluo tribes was reduced. The kingdoms of Sogdia and the Tarim Basin returned to the rule of the Khagan of the West.